The Chevrolet Bolt is arguably one of the most affordable brand new electric vehicles in America. You can snag one of these things for under $30,000. And earlier this year, it was kind of thought perhaps that the Bolt had seen its last day when GM announced they were going to discontinue this vehicle. The factory where this was made was going to be retooled to make sure the Sierra EVs could be made. But a few weeks later, GM reversed course and said, nope, we're going to keep the Bolt around, much to the pleasure of probably thousands of EV fans, especially those who are looking to get one of these cars, an EV, for under $30,000 without breaking the bank. You can get one of these, even the top trim premier level, for about that price after the federal tax credit. So this one right here is a 2023 Chevrolet Bolt EUV. EUV because Chevy put about 6.3 inches more length in this EUV compared to the normal Bolt, and all of that extra room actually benefits the folks in the rear seat. There's about 3 inches more leg room in the rear seat compared to the normal Bolt. This is also taller than the normal Bolt. Now Chevy claims this is an SUV, and I would say that that's a little bit of a stretch. This is more like a longer hatchback, maybe a mini wagon kind of crossover type of thing, but I don't think it's really an SUV. That said, you do have more room in various spaces. It's still a skinny car though, about 169.3 or 0.5 inches in total length here. But this car does a lot of things really, really well. Not only is the price really, really competitive, the range is about 250 miles on a single charge. That is incredible. Over 200 miles of range on this 65 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. And that delivers a lot of range for the average driver. Now later in the video, I'll get to the charging aspect of this vehicle. That is where the big downside begins. Charging on this car is incredibly slow, and even at fast charging speeds, at DC fast charging, takes quite a while. So longer road trips on this are going to be a little more difficult than in a Tesla or something else that can charge much faster. But more about that later in the video. Today I'll give you a full review of the outside of this car, of the inside of this car, of course take it out on the road. Is it quick? Well, I'll let you know all about that. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for finding us here on Overdrive Reviews. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate it. No matter what you're here for, please enjoy this video. I hope you get something out of this, and ask any questions in the comments below. All right, I've talked enough. Let's get at it. What do you say? A huge shout out first though to the folks here at Kramer's Middletown in Middletown, Pennsylvania. They gave me this 2023 Chevy Bolt EUV for the day to test out for you. Their budget rental arm gave me this beautiful car. They also have a budget auto sales section as well as a CarStar collision body shop, all in one huge campus here in Middletown, Pennsylvania. All of their contact info is linked below for you. They have a long-term rental section, 2-month minimum, but it kind of gives you the opportunity to drive a new vehicle without worrying about extra mileage fees, and the ability to stay away from 2- and 3-year lease obligations. They have tons of EVs, low mileage makes and models. You can rent, you can buy, you can long-term rent, all sorts of options here. Again, their contact info linked below for you. Check them out. Their team will certainly take care of you. So let's start on the side profile here of the EUV. Right away you can tell it's an EUV because of these roof rails up top. That is a clear indication that this is not the normal Bolt. By the way, this one is about 0.5 inches taller, half an inch taller than the normal Bolt, but about 6.3 inches longer than the normal Bolt. And of course, like I said before, that benefits the rear seat passengers. This one has 17-inch wheels here. Kind of a nice design, kind of a star, like maybe a snowflake type of design here. Not every single wheel is the same. This, of course, is the higher trim level, so it has the upgraded wheels. Of course, you do have the normal gray-black cladding here on the wheel wells, which I don't love so much. These are skinny wheels here, of course, to improve the efficiency, and they do spin rather easily around turns. If you're pulling out of a parking lot or something like that, these front wheels do spin. This is only a front wheel drive vehicle, by the way. All-wheel drive is not an option, which is kind of a miss, I feel like, in my book. all EVs, I think in some capacity, every brand has an all-wheel drive option, not so much here on the Chevy Bolt. You do have the nice integrated turn signals here into the side view mirrors, as well as a camera down here below for more security and all kinds of things when you're out on the road. Over here, you do not have flush handles like most EVs have. One thing I don't love though is that obviously there's a button there to lock the car, but when you walk up and just pull, it doesn't recognize your hand in there. You have to actually push the button before the door will open. Kind of a small thing, but a little bit annoying if you're used to just walking up to your car now and putting your hand in and the door opening. Again, the roof rails right here are indicative of the EUV. Kind of a handsome vehicle from back here, but again, Chevy claims SUV. I don't think so much. This is definitely more of a hatchback than anything else. Let's move up front here. You do have LED lights all over, high and low beam. Obviously the closed off grille that is also indicative of an EV. This particular one also has the camera system up front. A functional grille down below here, which is pretty nice. You know, some piano glossy black plastic all over, and also the bow tie for Chevy is blacked out, which is kind of cool. I don't know if I wish it was the traditional gold color, but I do like it. It looks pretty nice. And these lights are really, really cool, especially at night. But yeah, you do have really nice lights all over the place. And I think right here also is a vent. That is a functional vent as well that leads over to the wheel well. And moving around the back here, more LED lights, of course, to fill out the rear end. More of the black and grayish cladding down here at the bottom with the integrated parking sensors. And I really love the Bolt emblem here. Definitely inventive, definitely colorful, grabs your eye for sure. A nice vehicle from the rear, actually. I think this looks more sporty and more, I guess, design forward than the actual front of the car. And you obviously can't drive in reverse the whole time, but it definitely is a really nice looking rear end for this small hatchback. Now let's talk about cargo space. Open up the bottom here. It is not a power liftgate on this EUV, unfortunately. And I think also, unfortunately, the rear space here is not all that big. I think maybe you're expecting it to be much bigger than it is. You only have about 16.3 cubic feet of space back here with the rear seats up. With the rear seats down, that obviously expands to about 56.5 cubic feet of space. You do, fortunately, though, have a very large underfloor storage area. There's the charging cable and everything else. You can fit maybe a suitcase or two down in here. It's deeper than you might expect, but again, even with all of that extra space down in the floor here, this is kind of limited for being a hatchback. Only 16 cubic feet of space, 56 with the rear seats down. All right, so unlike many EVs, there is no frunk on this Chevy Bolt, and as you can see, that's because right here, it is full of mechanical parts. As I mentioned before, this is a front-wheel drive only model. There is no all-wheel drive option on the Chevy Bolt. This motor here pumps out about 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque to the front wheels only. That's good for a 0 to 60 mile per hour sprint of about 6.8 seconds. It definitely has some pep and some get up and go. You have no problem merging or keeping up with traffic, darting in and around vehicles, trucks out on the road. It definitely has enough power to keep you where you need to be out on the highway. This weighs about 3,700 pounds, which for a small hatchback is quite a lot, almost 2 tons. But again, batteries weigh a lot. A 65 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack, again, for about 250 miles of range, which is quite good for the price here. This car absolutely keeps up as far as everyday range goes. Okay, so charging on the 2023 Chevrolet Bolt EUV. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it's going to slow you down if you're taking road trips a lot. This is a daily driver, maybe not such a big problem because you can charge at night on 120 volt standard residential household outlet at your house. But if you're on the road a lot doing long drives, this is going to slow you down. Let me show you here. The port is right here on the driver's side of the vehicle. Very easy to operate. Open it up. A standard charger with DC fast charging capability, but like I said, the DC fast charging capability is not all that great. This car can only accept up to 50 kilowatt of charging speed at a time, so this will take a good hour and a half to charge up to what you need to do out on the road. I mean, what might take a Tesla, 30 minutes or so to charge up will take this car at least an hour or more. So that is the one downside, is charging on this is not all that great. This right here for sure is definitely the downside of it all. Again, you can plug this into your residential 120 volt outlet at your house to charge there, but out on the road, going to be a problem. You can also charge this on a level 2 charger. It'll take about 7 hours to charge up, so just keep that in mind when you buy one of these. Yes, affordable, but the charging might get in the way. Let's get inside the Bolt now and also talk about the color scheme here first, since the door is the first part we're seeing. A nice kind of blue and black and gray combination here. Obviously not the highest of materials, lots of plastic here and gray plastic here as well. This feels more like leatherette than it feels like leather, but either way, it looks okay. This blue coloring actually does continue on to the leather seats here, or to the leatherette seats, whatever they are, but they are perforated, and this Premier trim does have heated and ventilated seats, which are quite nice, and they are comfortable for shorter rides. I did notice after about an hour or so of driving today around town, they're not the most comfortable after you hit some bumps and take some turns and you've been sitting for 20, 30, 40 minutes. That could just be because this, again, is an economy-minded car, and this is not meant to be something that is considered luxurious. Since we're here at the seats, 8-way power adjustable seats here on the driver's seat only. The passenger seat is unfortunately a manual seat, but you do get this nice power option on the Premier trim here. Let's hop into that power seat and sit down and start her up. Unlike some cars for EVs, you do have to actually push button start this. It's right here hidden behind the steering wheel. There you go. Simple sounds, nothing too insane. Occasionally, after you get in this thing and after it's locked and you get in, it does make a whoom sound. It sounds like a cinematic kind of a movie effect or something, and it kind of takes you by surprise. It doesn't do it all the time. I'm not sure what makes it do it, but just be aware whenever you get one of these or you rent one of these, it could make a really odd sound that might take you by surprise at first. Let's start here at the digital gauge cluster, a 7-inch screen here full of all kinds of information, and really easy to read. And one of the things I love so much that my Tesla does not do is that the average mile per kilowatt hour is included right here. So right now I'm doing 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour over an 11-mile trip. I reset this a little teeny bit ago, but all kinds of information in there for you. A big screen compared to what digital gauge clusters used to be. Very nice, full of all the information you would need. You do also here have a little toggle switch, a paddle shifter for regen braking right here, which is really nice. You also have different controls on the back side of the steering wheel here for changing your media and volume and all sorts of other things that are here in the big center screen. Now this big center screen is a 10.2-inch screen and actually is nicely raked so that your hands naturally just fall right on it. It's not angled toward the driver, but that's okay. It actually feels great whenever you're trying to use it and your hand naturally just falls right into place. It's a very easy system to use. It's the MyLink Chevrolet system that you've probably seen before in other Chevy vehicles. It does have standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well. Very easy to use, very friendly to use. Nothing super special about that, but there are actually 2 physical switches as well that you can use to kind of toggle through things on your own if you don't feel like using the touch portion of the touch screen. On this Premier level, we do have dual zone automatic climate control as well as heated and ventilated front seats, which is really nice. I've been using the ventilated seats today, driving around. They actually feel great and do a nice job for a, again, economy type of car. Also have a heated steering wheel and this EUV. All right, let's talk about that steering wheel. This particular one, obviously wrapped in leather here, a flat bottom steering wheel on all of the Bolts. This does not have the Super Cruise built in, the kind of hands-free system that a lot of Chevys are getting now. That used to be reserved for the higher end luxury cars, the Cadillacs and such, but you can get Super Cruise on the Bolt. I've seen it. The camera sits right here, the little green light is right here. This particular one does not have it, but again, Super Cruise available on an economy car. Kind of cool. Let's talk about the dash here. Some cheaper materials for sure. I mean, it's kind of hard. It looks like it's going to be softer than it is, but it looks okay. It doesn't blow you away. I do like this perforated option right here much more. I think if they continue this perforated look, maybe up onto here, it would make the overall aesthetics a little bit more pleasing. Lots of plastic everywhere again, like I mentioned earlier on the door here. You do have very familiar buttons everywhere. Everything looks like a Chevy, a GM product for sure. Automatic up and down driver front, passenger front windows, just automatic down rear windows. Let's get back to the center console here. You do have a sport mode, which is just phenomenal, and in a little EV like this, it's either sport mode on or sport mode off. There is no comfort, eco, rock, sand, anything like that, just sport mode on or off. A very large traction control button. Maybe they just had to fill this space, not sure why it's so large. And of course your lane keep assist right there as well. And a very familiar kind of setup for a lot of car companies now. The gear shifter is a bunch of buttons. You pull back for reverse, pull back for drive, and your corresponding positions then are up on the screen. A lot of 360 cameras on this thing to make sure you can see every angle that you want, out back, up top. You can also change this to be what you want on the sides. A little bit grainy there on the side for those cameras, but at least you have them, and I think that's a nice touch to have. Again, on a car that is not supposed to be something super, super luxurious. Also down here, you do have the one pedal driving option, block the sun for you. One pedal driving option makes this drive just like any other EV you've ever driven, to make sure you can take advantage of the regen braking and add some more range to your vehicle as you drive around. Very easy to toggle on and off, and operates very, very seamlessly. I've had no problems with it at all. Not sure what you're going to store here other than maybe like 3/4 and maybe a bobby pin or something, but a very small storage space. Parking brake, of course. Two relatively small cup holders where I've got my glasses and my cell phone right now. And a very small center console as well that I honestly don't know what the point of it is. I mean, it is rather deep for being in the center here, but again, this is a skinny car, so this skinny armrest is good for one arm. I mean, you really can't share it. It does not slide forward or anything either, which I don't love. I wish it did slide forward, but it does not. It feels a little chintzy as well. The seats, like I said, they're nice. I mean, for what they are in this car, it is a very, very nice design. The blue is subtle enough. It isn't overwhelming, doesn't look cheap, and they're, again, comfy for shorter drives. They get a little bit hard after that, but the perforated, heated, ventilated seats up here, quite a nice option. Another thing I forgot to mention is the 7-speaker Bose sound system in this vehicle, which sounds really nice. I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe it would just be one of those things where, you know, they add a Bose system to make you think it's going to be really great, and then it's kind of lackluster. It actually has some nice thump and some nice treble sound to it. Back here in the center console, you do have wireless charging down here, and you also, look way down in there, you do have a USB-C and a normal USB charging port for your cell phone. It is way down in there and kind of blocked when you're up at this view, so you do kind of have to stretch down in order to see them and perhaps use them. Yeah, wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, which is just great, and enough vents, also two huge ones here in the center and one on each side. You can take advantage of them in any way you want. They're easily maneuvered, easily manipulated, no complaints there at all. Some storage bins here on the side. They actually are nicely located for a water bottle or something like that. Each side does, of course, have one, and you do have a pass-through down here as well. Not sure what you would place there that would be held in place all that easily, but you do have some small storage there, as well as a typical standard glove box that, unlike a Tesla, you can open with just the push of a lever. In the rear seat now, there is actually a lot of room. 39 inches of legroom here in the rear of the Chevy Bolt. Again, 3 inches plus more leg room than in the regular Bolt, and that actually is great. There's a flat floor. There's nothing obviously running to the back wheels because there is no all-wheel drive option. There is no rear air vent at all. You do have 2 charging ports, which is quite nice, a USB-C and a USB-A. You do, though, fortunately, have rear heated seats right here on each side, just the leftmost seat and the rightmost seat. Little buttons right there for you to take advantage of your heated seat, which is quite nice. The big panoramic roof is quite large and offers a lot of sun, but it does not extend above the second row. It kind of stops where your legs are. So, I mean, I kind of wish this went back the whole way. But again, economy-minded type of car, can't really complain all that much. I'm glad that the panel roof is there and that sunshade is quite nice, especially on really sunny days like right now. But the rear seat, definitely kind of cramped if you're going to put 3 people back here, but 2 people for sure have enough room. I have this seat right now the farthest back it can go, and I still have plenty of room for a shorter road trip back here. More than enough room here in the back of the EUV. All right, we are behind the wheel now of this 2023 Chevy Bolt EUV, and I will say right off the bat that I really enjoy how smooth the car goes about its business. This is a really easy car to drive, a really easy city car to get around in, and I think Bolt is the perfect name because you can bolt in and out of things rather easily. It's not a large vehicle at all. I also really like the positioning of the seat and the ride height in these captain's chairs. Again, a kind of a narrow, skinny car. You're a little closer to your cabin mates than maybe you are in a larger vehicle, but I have tons of headroom here. This large panoramic sunroof is just great, letting in lots of sun. I feel kind of cozy and all kind of tucked in here, and everything is within reach and within visibility, within my vision. All of the instruments and things I want to see, all the specs I want to see, my range, my total trip. And what's interesting about the Bolt compared to other EVs is that it gives you a max range and a minimum range, basically telling you, if you drive really hard, you might get about 200 miles out of the car. If you drive really efficiently and kind of smartly, you might get 250 plus. And since these tires are rather thin, they're not very wide, the bumps that the car takes on, it does kind of toss it about a little bit. The overall feel over some imperfections is more pronounced than in other cars. The 200 horsepower, though, is more than enough for daily driving to and from whatever your errands are. And I've been doing some highway speeds here, about 60 miles an hour or so, and I'm still getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So if you break that down, let's say your kilowatt hour at your house costs, 9 cents, and you're getting 4 miles for that 9 cents. I mean, you're paying 2 cents, 2 point something cents a mile, which is next to nothing. But coming to a full stop, when you're using the actual rotors too on the car, really fast. They grip really nicely and quick as well. That is with the regen on as well. So when you've got regen stopping you and the kind of traditional brakes stopping you, you come to a stop pretty quickly. Since I'm back here on this road by myself, let's do a acceleration test. All right, let's hold on to things, make sure nothing falls out. In 3, 2. Yeah, okay. I mean, now that we're up to speed, it's good to go. But definitely not a sporty car. But again, you know that going in. What was also interesting about that acceleration there was that since this is front-wheel drive, you do have to keep hands on the steering wheel under hard acceleration because it wants to kind of divert a little bit. I mean, those front wheels are kind of pulling anywhere that the tire hits and the car wants to go. So, but the one thing I will say is that you do notice relatively easily when you're making a turn from a dead stop, making a turn with your wheels turned in the direction you want to go, and you hit the accelerator, the tires will likely spin if you're trying to kind of get out quickly. It's a quiet drive. It really is. I mean, you really can't hear the wind outside, other cars passing you. Obviously, there's no engine noise. It drives just like a normal car with your buttons and your gear shifter. It doesn't take a lot of thinking, a lot of, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, you know, a Rivian might, a Lucid or a Tesla. Those cars require some research, some intuition, some, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into, in order to drive them. This is very, very user-friendly and just intuitive. It makes sense. In all, this Chevy Bolt, though, is a great choice for the average driver, someone who's looking to get into the EV world without dumping a ton of money into a Tesla, a Rivian, a Mercedes-Benz, or Audi EV. This is a formidable choice. Inexpensive, loaded with tech, great range, and the only downside really with that range in the EV parts of this vehicle is the charging. The charging is a little bit slow, but if you can get over that, this is a great option. Lots of great things here in this Chevy Bolt EUV, in addition to all that space. Well, thank you so much for watching this review of the 2023 Chevy Bolt EUV. Follow us here on YouTube. If you're not already, please comment and like this video below. Let us know what your thoughts are. And that is it for this one. We will catch you next time around.